news, augmented reality, and the dark side. Check out their Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Dark Side headphones and new Star Wars app for an exclusive and immersive AR audio experience. Visit Bose.com/Rebel Force to learn more.
Did you hear that?
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, well, Skywalker Rises in Ohio is going to be about what you think, but this episode is going to be about what we think. Of course, not just us, but all of you in our hotel room.
Hey! We got a live studio audience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're fresh. I mean, just hours from wrapping up, seeing The Rise of Skywalker for the very first time. And as tradition has it, we're going to kind of just spew it out.
We're going to talk it out.
We got to talk this.
We have to talk this one out.
They laid a lot on us. There was no downtime in this.
It was very intense. So I think the best way we can go about doing this is try to piece together the movie as we can recall it, and we'll also rely on our outside sources here that are actually inside the hotel room with us right now. You guys will be our lifelines.
Yeah, that's right. We got to tag you in case we forget something.
We have lots of friends of the show that have joined us tonight, and we'll introduce them as they come to the microphone. So in order to you have to earn an introduction. In other words, you have to contribute to the show.
You have to help us
before you get revealed.
Useful.
So we have a head count here of about 7, 9, including Swank and myself here inside this beautiful hotel suite overlooking downtown Cleveland and the Playhouse Square Theater, and of course the iconic giant chandelier that welcomes people to downtown Cleveland. So
beautiful.
We're back.
So opulent.
We're back. We haven't been here since Solo in Ohio, and looking forward to Skywalker Rises in Ohio, and that'll be happening Friday night this week, opening night. Opening day, I should say. Tonight was opening night for The Rise of Skywalker. We were there at the first screening, the 6 p.m. screening here, and so I think that makes us among the first of the regular rubes to actually see the film in its entirety. And so let's just try to walk our way through it as it happened and just immediate thoughts upon reliving the scenes as they unfolded.
Should I start with the opening credits?
Well, the crawl.
Well, no, before the crawl, because I thought, naively, I'm sure, that with the acquisition of 20th Century Fox, that we would have access to the fanfare.
No, not at all.
Why not? Don't act so smug like you knew this all along.
Well, it's not distributed.
This could have gone either way.
Okay, Disney acquired 20th Century Fox earlier this year, but this film was never set to be distributed by 20th Century Fox. It was always slated to be distributed by the Walt Disney Studios, and that's who obviously releases.
Am I alone that I would have liked to have seen the 20th century or heard the fanfare?
It was actually something I thought about as I was driving out here today. Mm-hmm. I was actually considering that, but I didn't see it being a possibility.
Okay.
Because this film was never slated to be distributed by 20th Century Fox. I don't think it matters to the corporate heads at Disney, that kind of thing.
I think it's part of the soundtrack.
I wasn't expecting.
I really think of it as part of the soundtrack for Star Wars.
Well,
really
of course.
All right, fine.
Agree with you.
So, what about the lack of that little animation that they have at the beginning of the Mandalorian series, where they show all?
But that's for television. That's for the streaming series. I think that is going to be.
Says who?
I think that is something that's just going to be a pre-roll for.
Wait a minute, hold on. We have someone knocking on our door here.
Has someone arrived? Oh, my God, it's J.J. Abrams. Oh, okay. Yes.
Well, he's the loud one right there.
We've been told
to keep
voices
very good.
down.
Thank you.
And the show has just started.
Thank you. J.J. Abrams just barged into the hotel.
Okay, all right. Well, let's not test them.
All right.
Chris Amram.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like we're just using our normal voices here.
No. We might be projecting a little bit, so we have to stop doing that.
All right, fine. All right. So I'm going to get over the fact that there was no fanfare, and that there was no this new Lucasfilm little animation thing that they got. But who said that is just for the television series?
Nobody, but I think that is the case. It's not anything we've seen in front of any of the films, and there's been 5 of them released under the Disney banner. So if they had intended to place something like that in front of their films, they probably would have done that with The Force Awakens and not here in the 5th film, The Rise of Skywalker.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I don't think so, and I didn't even think about it till you brought it up. So
yeah, well, now you're thinking about it.
Nothing to affect my film enjoyment.
All right, so let's skip to the crawl. The dead speak.
The dead speak. So that would be, of course, Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah. So the crawl tells us that there is a mysterious broadcast, and that's the word that they used.
Right,
broadcast of the voice of the dead emperor that has been transmitted throughout the galaxy.
Well, thank God they didn't say podcast, because then I think they would be sending a message.
Clearly they all...
the dead speak.
Yeah.
So you better... Yeah,
We're not dead yet.
No, not even close. So, so mysterious broadcast by the emperor.
Yeah.
He's talking.
He was threatening the galaxy unless they paid up for $1 million.
Dun, dun, dun. But yeah, so that painted a picture right away. They didn't. There was nothing coy about the return of Emperor Palpatine. It wasn't some sort of
right out of the gate
fruit. It was just it was part of the fabric of this film,
which I was really glad about. The last thing that I wanted was this character to be relegated to some cameo, some cheap, silly cameo,
right?
Or that. The way the trailer, this last TV spot, one of the last TV spots that they aired, made me think that maybe when he's talking about I'm every voice you ever heard, I thought maybe Palpatine isn't the big bad. Maybe it's the dark side of the Force itself that they're going to be pitted up against. But I was actually relieved that it was from the beginning to the end.
Right.
Just Palpatine, though he is speaking as, on behalf of all of his Sith that came before him.
In the first 10 minutes of the film, it seemed like it was a lot of stuff we'd already seen in trailers and TV spots.
A lot of that was repetitious.
Which makes sense. The stuff that they would expose to us early on is the stuff that happens early on in the film.
Yeah.
As not to reveal any spoilers or what have you.
But the crawl ends with setting the stage for that. It's really, Kylo's going to do whatever he can to maintain his power, his ascendancy to power, and if that means stifling this, broadcast or this message, this growing presence of Palpatine throughout the galaxy, he's going to do that. So he really goes out there to track down the source of this broadcast so that he can nip it in the bud.
Yes.
And maintain his ascendancy to power. But a deal is struck, essentially.
Right. Well, Palpatine had revealed to Kylo that he had been pulling the strings on the entire situation, just as was the case with the prequel trilogy, where Palpatine was manipulating everything and turning both sides against each other, both ends against the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, and so when we see Palpatine, I think you kind of dubbed him Zombie Palpatine.
Zombie Palps.
Yeah, so he goes from being a phantom 9 films ago to a zombie.
Yes.
Right? But he is the thread that's pulling this whole Skywalker saga through.
Yes.
He's at the very beginning, and he's at the very, very end.
Right.
With
Absolutely.
this. He outlives the Skywalkers.
He's the ultimate puppet master.
Right.
And the Skywalkers themselves that's the Force. That's a counter reaction to the growing darkness that Palpatine represents.
Right.
The Skywalkers are the opposite of that. Darkness rises, light to meet it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But what nobody saw coming was that the offspring of Palpatine would then produce his eventual downfall.
Right.
So that's I'm jumping way ahead, of course, but.
But the deal is struck between Palpatine and Kylo. That Palpatine says, "Bring me the girl."
But Kylo, of course, never intends to serve Palpatine. He believes if he brings Rey to Palpatine together, they'll kill him.
Yes, exactly. Something else that we left out is, and Sheldon and I were. Or I think it was Sheldon and I were kind of remarking about it was like there was a checklist that J.J. Abrams had that said, okay, these are the things we're going to answer. And they answered them very quickly. So number one, who is Snoke? Well, Snoke is literally a puppet of Palpatine.
Like a drone, like a Palpatine drone.
A Palpatine drone. You see in the back to tanks or whatever, you actually see, in the drums, he's got like several Snoke heads and torsos.
Yes, he's like Star Wars collectors, where we have loose figures and then we have figures that are carded,
right?
And so he keeps, that's how he does it. He customizes his own action figures. Actually,
so this Snoke always looked like this. Like he wasn't some injured guy. Like, first of all, if you're Palpatine and you're going to make you're going to create like a fake human being, like that's what you do?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like he could have made someone a little less conspicuous looking. Like
it's the best he could do. He's not very artistically inclined.
I guess not.
He just, he has good ideas, but he's very poor with the execution.
I hear that. All right, so we see the pieces and parts of Snoke in the back to tanks, and then we've got this deal that is struck between Kylo and Palpatine. Kylo's going to bring the girl to Palpatine, and then Palpatine is going to bequeath this final order, right? We've had the Empire, the First Order, Order 66, and now the final order is this fleet that has been hanging out that is actually populated and commanded by, what are we calling them, acolytes?
Well, that's what
Dark
I call
side
them.
Acolytes. So
that's
the
what I call
cultists.
them. And I think though their ranks swelled once that broadcast went out across the galaxy. I think people didn't, they bought their cloaks and signed up.
And they went out there and they
went out there.
Club.
Yeah, they were told it was a party of the lifetime. And
in
so
that
they
big
went out
Sith
there.
stadium.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, I got to see this." It was like, it was the MetLife Excal, I think was the name of the planet. They actually sold corporate naming rights to the planet itself.
So Kylo goes off. He's going to track down the scavenger, the girl. So he's out there.
He's been sent on a mission now.
Right. Now,
which is what I like how these dominoes fall in this film, is that it's very clear cut. One thing takes you to another, and that's a George Lucas tendency.
This
to
film
have characters one lead you to another, and then the story all kind of.
This film
unfolds.
is like dominoes. I mean, that first domino falls with a crawl, and then bum 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 bum. It never stops.
Right.
I didn't feel like there was really a moment to catch my breath in this movie, really at all.
So
because I was afraid if I relaxed, I was going to miss something important.
Right. There were no bathroom breaks happening.
None.
But you did say to me that you slept during the middle part of it. I couldn't
joked.
believe
the
it.
movie was over, and I go, "Oh, what happened? I've been asleep since."
Impossible.
Right.
That's impossible.
I missed everything after the crawl.
Yes.
All right.
That's
So
not true, though.
No, it's not at all. I was wide-eyed. So Kylo's off. Flash to Rey.
Yes.
Rey is training.
Yes.
But
She
no.
is.
Actually, we see Poe and Finn.
Poe
first,
and
don't
Finn,
we?
they're on a mission.
Right.
And they're out to acquire.
Or their honeymoon. I don't know which.
What are they out to acquire from a start? What? Oh, the spy. Right, the spy. That funny-looking alien.
Thank you.
I liked
Cleveland
him.
Chris with the
Cleveland
save.
Chris. What was that? Does anybody know the alien or the?
I don't know his name, but we saw him in those, like, he's got those horns. I don't know who he is, but yeah, he very prominent in those early leaks of those, those old costume leaks.
Right.
He was only on screen
that's
for,
true.
I don't know. I mean, we saw his severed head, so that was probably the most screen time this character got.
Yeah.
But he was giving them like a data uplink into R2 for that First Order spy. Yeah, I don't know anything else beyond that.
He was feeding them that information.
Yeah.
Where they learned then that the Sith army existed and was going to strike them, or I should say Sith Navy, and that they were going to strike all these different star systems.
Yeah, that all of these Star Destroyers, all of these ships had planet-killing technology.
Right, but they didn't learn that, I think, until they actually saw
later.
it.
That was later. That was later.
They didn't get that as part of the intel, but they knew something big was coming down, and it was the big mother of all mothers.
By the way, is there a character in these movies that Finn has not screamed their name at some certain point?
Kitster was not. I have not heard Finn yell. He yells at. He yells at it a lot. Be careful, or J.J. Abrams is going to come back over here and tell us to keep it down. So you better watch.
But he's screaming. He's screaming everybody's name.
Yes, he does do that.
Very, very dramatically.
He goes, woo, things like that.
A lot of that stuff.
We got a lot of spirit.
A lot.
To me, Finn represents a lot of the spirit, especially the two J.J. Abrams entries.
For sure.
And I really, really liked him a lot in this
right.
movie.
I don't know what character he was playing in Episode 8, but he was definitely playing Finn again in Episode 9.
Well, can I jump ahead to something that wasn't exactly clearly addressed, but it certainly was strongly hinted at, was that Finn actually has some latent Force abilities himself, and they were displayed a couple times throughout the film.
Yes.
Especially him being able to sense Rey in the Force.
All right.
And earlier on, but
in the last movie, he needed a tracker.
What's that?
In the last movie, he needed a tracker in order to know where Rey was. The whole idea, was that he wanted to get that tracker as far away from the fleet as possible because he knew that they were on a dead end collision course with fate. They were going to be wiped out, and he wanted Rey to be as far away from that as possible. So he didn't want her to be drawn back.
Yeah, but that wasn't in this film. He was actually sensing her through the Force.
Yeah, I know. Big difference, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
So that's
so kind of a total rewrite, wouldn't you say?
Well, no. I mean, because Leia had emerging Force skills in the original trilogy. So with Finn kind of revealing that, it sort of mirrors that. It's part of that whole ring theory thing that comes into play when you think about how the trilogies reflect each other.
That's really well done.
I think so.
That's well done.
At least my explanation.
Yeah, your explanation.
It's my headcanon, but I mean, that's just how I interpret it after watching the movie for the first time.
You deliver it, though, like it was all done on purpose, your own headcanon, you see.
Well, yeah. I mean, it fits, the right pieces are fitting into the right places. And so that's what I think is a virtue of this particular film.
Yeah.
And, part of the thing that I like about it is that it felt like a Star Wars movie.
Right.
In a very massive way. It felt like it hit me in the feels many times.
Oh, I know. You're just blubbering. Jimmy Mac, the whole time.
There were choice moments, about 8 of them.
Yeah. I mean, you outed yourself. I'm not outing you. We've both spent quite a bit of time on shows recently to sort of, well, for lack of better words, judging those that cry during a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
And you yourself said that you've been emotional during Star Wars films, but never really openly wept.
Right.
Though you did shed a tear for Iron Man in the last Avengers movie.
That's what led me to believe that there could be waterworks for Episode 9.
And there were.
Yeah. There truly were. Yes.
Right.
I was hit in the fields.
Not like Jodie to my left. Jodie was an absolute disaster.
She was
the
just
whole
a
time.
puddle.
She really was.
There.
Yeah.
I mean, she was
a puddle with eyeballs
melted.
on the floor.
But I'm happy and relieved. And it's just a byproduct of the intense experience that I felt watching this film.
Okay. So we meet Poe and Finn, and then we flash to Rey. They're like, "Where's Rey?
Yes.
Rey's never around when we need her."
Yeah, because she's training. Training for what? Poe's a skeptic, much like he's filling the role of Han Solo now.
Yeah, he is. But did anybody here also pick up or think you were picking up on a little bit of romance between Rey and Poe? kind of like the Han Leia, I hate you, I love you kind of thing.
There's Rich Brendel. Why don't you come over here? Can you, or is that hard for you to? Here.
I can walk.
You got a cool shirt. He can walk. He can walk.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
There was definitely, I think, more chemistry at the end of The Last Jedi with them. There was a little bit of banter.
They had one line together.
I know, but it was a powerful line.
I'm Rey.
There was eye contact. And there was like eye contact.
Talk to me, man.
He was like, check out this sweet thing. That's what you could see that in his eyes.
Okay.
Pope's eyes went. And
yeah.
She was like, hey, you're pretty handsome too. And you could see that in her eyes.
Okay.
That's what I got from it.
All right. In your eyes.
Yeah. Which is a harmless or harmless.
But
a harmless romantic.
But you know what? I'm with you. Oh, we got the two Wisconsin.
Oh, they're hugging
guys.
now. They're hugging it out. So he's not from. Chris is
where's
not
Chris from.
He's from Minnesota, not Wisconsin.
Oh, sorry, Minnesota.
Seeing there.
Right there. Somebody from Minnesota with the Vikings.
Yeah.
All right. We're not getting into NFL rivalries here when we're reviewing episode 9 for the first time. Okay.
All right.
So, but good point. My mom felt there was chemistry between Rey and
Mom and Matt picked up on this.
Yeah, she said, well, I think she kind of likes that guy from the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you might be picking up on something.
Which Papa Mac might be a little bit jealous because he was a big Poe fan as well.
My dad
After
did
The
like
Force
Poe.
Awakens,
Yes,
he was into that.
He was very fond of Poe. I like
Yeah.
the Poe guy. I don't know. My
He's
dad
kind of a man's man.
My dad, I couldn't get him to sit through all of The Last Jedi.
He walked out on Last Jedi,
He walked
basically.
out. And I said, so Dan, he came back then for the end, but I said, so what'd you think? He goes, well, you like it, Jimmy. And then he kind of like tousled my hair and walked out.
I like it if you like it, son.
But
All
it's
right.
kind of interesting. That was near the end of right after that, the luster started to wear off of The Last Jedi for me to a degree. But I don't want to dwell on that here while we're doing episode 9
I just wanted
stuff.
to point out that the way they were writing the dialogue between Finn, Rey, and Poe is it felt like there was some sort of love triangle going on.
Oh.
There was jealousy. Yeah, there was jealousy. There was tension.
I didn't feel
wait
that.
a minute. Okay.
Chris Amram
Chris
was shaking
Amram
his
says
head
no.
no.
You don't think that? Then why were they arguing all the time about her?
Just because you can admire someone doesn't mean you desire someone.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, they're trying to build this whole thing about I'm taking a last look at my friends. You said they didn't earn it.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to build it. We don't have much time to build it when you're in the last movie of the saga.
Right. And that's something the trilogy suffers from is
thanks, Chris.
Trying to fit in maybe too much of that chemistry toward the end. But I think there was ample amounts of that happening in episode 9 to fulfill maybe some opportunities that were missed in prior installments of this trilogy. I think, it did a lot to fulfill the promise of the sequel trilogy on a whole in the way that it rolled out the relationships between what we call the new big three, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree, but okay, so yeah, you're going to try to put this pithy dialogue together in order to sort of convey that there's some familiarity with these characters and all of that. Which
it didn't get too bad, though.
Which, by the way,
it didn't get too snarky or anything like that.
I've come to the conclusion that one of the biggest challenges that The Last Jedi had was the fact that it took place immediately after The Force Awakens. Yeah. So we didn't even have the ability to kind of create in our own minds some connection between these characters, some deepening of their relationships at all. It was pretty much, it was almost like really two movies when you think about it. There was The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. They were all one continuous sort of moment in time. And then there is what we just saw, The Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that the way that they were writing the three of them together, yes, it was definitely to imply that they were sort of a trio, but there was also some intent in the way that they were writing it as well, which I think created all this kind of of tension. I think they both had eyes for Rey. I really do. I don't see how you could not interpret it that way.
But it didn't matter in the end. None of that mattered.
None of it matters in the end. Absolutely.
But we didn't see much of that big phallic creature, Claude. We didn't see much of him. He was at the very beginning.
Why was he even necessary?
He was just there to have a weird alien presence on board the Falcon. And
that's what Chewie's for.
Chewie's not weird anymore by episode 9.
That's true.
He's very
Sheldon's got a theory. Sheldon theory.
What's up, Sheldon?
It's like ring theory.
I think that because he's in the poster, number one, he's in that original. And
wait a minute,
the poster's
that's like the tail wagging the dog, isn't it? Well, he's in the poster, so we got to put him in the movie.
He's the Rick Olay of of The Last Jedi. I think because also the way he appears in that scene, it's like, oh, that's a somebody. Right? Like he's relevant.
They give him weight.
He's clearly relevant. So
he's
I think
part
what
of the
happened
crew.
is I think that character was transferred to another character, and he got dropped.
Yeah.
Because why was he in the poster?
Well,
why was he
appear in some deleted sequences or something? But
Captain Zuvio.
Captain Zuvio? Yeah, there's a guy who got cut.
Yeah.
You know. But
I'm surprised Hasbro doesn't have just racks and racks of action figures of this Millennium Falcon slug creature.
They don't
was on there. What was his name? Sluggo?
Claude? Yes.
That's a terrible name for a Star Wars character.
Claude. Was that voiced by Jeff Garlin? Who was the Jeff Garlin character? Did anybody spot Jeff Garlin?
I didn't spot
Did anybody
Jeff
hear
Garlin.
Jeff Garlin? What about Kevin Smith? We were told there'd be Kevin Smith cameo. Or no, JJ said he may or may not appear.
Who?
I think that's
now,
just
but
JJ.
the Jeff Garlin thing is bugging me because Garlin, I thought, had dialogue.
Well, Jeff said he even got scanned for an action figure and stuff. So,
maybe that is. All right, Sheldon's on it. He's Googling this.
He's not Googling.
I don't know who Jeff Garlin is.
He's ordering beer.
Okay. So, cut to Rey, and she's in training. Who's she in training with? Leia.
Yes.
Right?
But that's great because then it explains how Rey has been able to learn new Force disciplines over the course of the last year, which she clearly starts displaying left and right. I mean, she has all of the Force abilities, even to the point to where she can pull a ship from leaving the atmosphere and start pulling it down.
Yes, she can.
But also Kylo demonstrated those same abilities.
Kylo could counter her. Now, here's the question about that scene is, so we have Rey who's trying to prevent the ship from leaving orbit, and you have Kylo that's trying to prevent Rey from doing that. Is he exerting power or pressure on the ship or on her?
Good question.
Because I feel like that's a pretty...
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Right.
Yes. That
profundity
could be...
coming from Chris Amram over here.
Nice. Well done.
Yes.
But I think that,
point of view,
multiple views might shine better light on that, or it's just something that, you can just think about.
So Rey's running around the forest.
So she's training. And
she's floating rocks.
That's a great intro.
Yeah.
Great intro.
She's
for Rey.
crisscross applesauce.
Levitating.
Levitating with the rocks around her, and that was, as Chris is pointing out here, that was what we were supposed to see at the end of The Force Awakens. We were supposed to see Luke on Act 2 surrounded by floating rocks. So here's another example of J.J. Abrams just giving the middle finger to Rian Johnson, the first of many.
But, I mean, it's a good idea. J.J. had a mental image of what that would look like, and having a second chance to make a Star Wars movie, he obviously went back to the well to where, his
wanted that
ideal
image in there.
He wanted it in there. And that's not, George Lucas would often shelve ideas until he would find an opportunity to incorporate them into a future film. So,
and it's not too soon into this scene that we actually see Rey and Kylo Ren doing that. What do they call that? That force time.
Force time.
Force time. So the Force time, now that is a big element of the of Episode 8 that they maintain in Episode 9. In fact, a lot of the action, most of the action between Kylo and Rey happens in this Force time.
It does.
To the extent that Kylo is actually able to rip a necklace off of Rey and pull it into his reality as they're meeting together. And I think Rian Johnson even said that some of those scenes were just put in there for expediency. It was really about just being able. It was a shortcut. It was a shortcut to get them in scenes together. So in this case, I'm curious as to whether that was really. Is that someone snoring? What was that? What are you snorting over there?
Was that? Are you protesting? Why?
That's a lazy excuse.
Well, I agree. It's a lazy
protest.
excuse. Okay, I agree with
now,
that.
Now, see, as the two guys sitting here talking in the microphones, we were personally thinking that you were saying our conversation is boring.
Oh, that's
so you have to understand how sensitive we are as performers here, especially with such a limited audience. Okay,
we
can become affected by things that happen amongst us in this room. So,
yeah, we really are.
That's
actually.
why
Chris said if we can't make it here, we can't make it anywhere.
That's why I've just been staring at the lamp right there for most of the time, trying to pretend you guys aren't here.
All right, so Rey and Kylo are communicating, and I think it's at this.
Now, I am protesting.
At this point.
Go on. I'm sorry.
Is it at this point that Kylo lets Rey know, and it kind of opens the door about what this whole deal is with, he's like, I know who your parents are. Remember that thing I told you before?
He teases her with that information, very early on, and then starts to reveal more when she's in his lair on board the Star Destroyer while he's down on the planet.
But he says, I know you wanted to take my hand.
Yes.
You wanted to take my hand, and she won't admit it. She does later.
Said, I wanted to take Ben's hand.
Yeah, but that was at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, that was at the end. So she's still playing hard to get here, but there's this thing going on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's a little bit of this dance.
There's a tension.
Yes. And Kylo's kind of playing it. Of course, no villain ever sees themselves as evil. But in Kylo's case, it's almost like you get the sense that he feels that there's really no choice, that the two of them are destined to come together in some fashion. Why destroy each other? Why not come together and, sit on the throne as Mr. and Mrs. Galaxy?
Yes,
right?
Yes. That would be a tempting proposal, I think.
Right.
For a scavenger from nowhere,
You would think.
And then, she gets further tempted, obviously, by learning of her lineage.
Yeah.
And she starts recognizing the fact that, maybe her fate has been predetermined.
Yeah.
But I'm jumping too far ahead.
You are.
Yes,
all right, so now we're going to go to our peanut gallery. What happens next?
Oh, well, I can probably answer that. So they're battling on Pisana, right? We do get introduced to Billy D as Lando, who is hanging out. Great reveal. Fantastic reveal. You knew right away it was someone under there, someone of significance. Who could it be?
So he was masked.
Yes.
He shot a stormtrooper through the eye with an arrow.
Yes. Oh, that was excellent.
He pulled a Mo Green.
That was Mo Green.
Someone pulled an arrow through his eye.
That was good stuff. Yeah. And his ride is the tread of a Jawa sandcrawler without the sandcrawler. So that's a low rider right there. For
the
Billy
thing
D.
about Lando in this movie is you never are told what the hell Lando is doing at this time. You never find out well, he went back and he, now he's running Cloud City again, or he's a pirate. He's a spice. You do find out that Poe Dameron was a spice runner.
Yes.
Right. which is cool.
So he has a background in the underworld.
Yep.
Again, another connection to
very
him
Han
being
Solo.
the Han Solo of this.
He is the Han Solo of this
especially
trilogy.
of this film.
Yeah.
He's a hothead. He has a reputation as a hothead.
But here,
but at least no one's slapping him in the face, demoting him, or yelling at him, or emasculating him.
This is what I loved about this movie was that this was this movie was about heroes doing heroic things.
Yes,
throughout the whole time. It wasn't about people being slapped around, put in their place, checks and balances, this and that, bureaucratic nonsense, chain of command, any of that. This was everybody was pitching in and working towards the same goal.
Yes,
and there was none of that BS that I found honestly in Last Jedi.
Well,
Sheldon looks incredulous.
It connects so strongly with
Last
the message.
Jedi, the greatest Star Wars film of all time.
That's what we think in
gosh.
Toronto, eh? But listen, and I love Toronto; it's a great city. But the message that I think this movie puts across is something that I think is consistent with the entire saga. Is George always said it was a story about families. It's family. And so that's the resonating thing that you get after seeing this movie is, and JJ himself said it out on the interview circuit promoting this, where it's like, it's a message about family, but the message is, it doesn't necessarily have to be your blood family. It's the people who really mean the most to you. That's your family.
Right.
And I get that from this whole movie, especially the tug and war that was going on between Palpatine and Rey later in the film, when Palpatine says, "I am your only family." We know how important reconnecting with her family was to Rey.
Yeah.
For the longest time, it was her top priority.
Right.
And finding out that Palpatine is her only family around, then she, I think, came to reassess all of that. And
remember when Rian Johnson? Sorry to keep going back, but I mean, it is the big pink elephant in the room. But remember what? We got a hand up.
Did anyone guess?
Did anyone guess?
Yeah, I actually I guessed this a long time ago. Jason and I were having coffee just right across the way there one time at Starbucks when I went into a very deep Rey as Palpatine lineage long ago. I mean, this is like a year and a half ago.
Leaks, guys.
Yeah, way before.
He was on this.
Yeah.
I agreed with you once.
Fair enough. Well, we'll have to review your predictions from back then, Cleveland Chris. They were hard to digest when you first initially brought him up, but it'd be really interesting to go back and hear all of that stuff you were saying before. I just felt like you were tying too much expanded universe stuff.
Well, that's what he does. He's a big EU guy.
But there were vibes of Dark Empire resonating in this movie,
weren't there?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, and that's one of the granddaddies of expanded universe. Going back to the earliest stages of what eventually turned into a Star Wars revival was the early 90s, and Dark Horse Comics acquiring the comic license.
Now, did that have
Dark Empire.
Did that have the fleet out there in waiting?
He had a fleet of some sort, right? He had this. He had this. The Star Destroyer with the planet destroying abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I believe was part of Dark Empire.
Mm-hmm.
They had that big Star Destroyer that had that laser cannon in the front of it.
Yeah.
But just vibes, a lot of vibes.
Yeah.
A lot of just general vibes.
Yeah.
Palpatine kept alive with that thing plugged into his skull, and the strobe lighting on him where he had a different expression every time, and the dead eyes, the zombie
Is that
eyes.
what was supposed to throw me into seizures?
Yeah, that was it.
It was the Palpatine stuff.
That was the Palpatine.
Yeah. I love the milky eyes in Palpatine.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Like a dead fish.
A phantom Palpatine. Yeah. All right. So we've got. We talked about Billy D or Lando. By the way, he doesn't really miss a beat. What's his one line about Leia? And tell her I love her.
Yeah,
something like that. I don't.
It's something.
He really leans into that line.
Yeah, well, he always laid it on thick with her. You think back to their introduction to Cloud
I've tried
City.
many times to love her.
Hello, what have we here?
Yeah,
it all goes back to that. It's the same.
But he's great.
Emotion just comes from a more familiar place.
And I like
now.
and I like the hairpiece.
Yeah. He was looking very good.
Yeah,
Billy D looked great in this movie.
Thanks to his personal trainer Gunner.
Gunner was there on the set with me every day. But it was just great to see him.
It was,
and he was the connective tissue we really needed to. We learned some of the backstory, things that were happening off camera. He was involved in missions
little
with
things.
Luke, going on investigative missions with Luke Skywalker to try to track down Palpatine. And
so one of the kind of undercurrents of this is that we realize that Luke may have been aware that Palpatine had survived.
Yes.
And he was writing in these journals, these books that were retrieved by Yoda that ended up in Rey's possession.
How do we know Yoda retrieved? Oh,
Yoda retrieved the books.
Wait, no. Yoda didn't retrieve the books. Rey took the books.
Didn't they just appear? She took the books?
No. Yoda.
I know he's dead.
Yoda summoned lightning down
to light the tree on fire
and burn the books. But
the books had already been taken.
She had
by
already
Rey.
taken the books.
I've only seen that movie like 1.5 times.
Is that?
So
are you
forgive
serious?
me.
You've only seen?
Yeah,
The
Sheldon
Last
loves
Jedi?
it. It's
I've
the
seen
best
it.
movie.
I've seen it a solid dozen
Now that's
times,
one
I'd
I
say.
really always fall asleep during.
Okay, but we're not necessarily talking about that. We're just correcting.
You got to bring it up
because you don't stay awake.
But you got to bring it up.
Well, okay,
because it's relevant to this film.
It is
right.
It is.
So
let's keep the facts straight. Then, if we're
she's
going to
got the
reference
journal. She's got the journal that Luke left behind. So we are led to believe in The Last Jedi that all Luke was doing there was just staying there until he died. He was there to die.
Yes.
He wasn't doing anything interesting. Oh, he left out the part that he was trying to track down the rumors that the Emperor of the Universe still existed.
Right.
And was exerting, what was remaining of his power upon the galaxy, potentially laying in wait. They left that part out.
And I think Lando
was working with Luke on this.
He was working with Luke on this, but I think they were part of a crew, and I think Lore Santeca was also part of that crew. Because Lore does not
You
get
have
referenced
nothing. Wait a minute. Hold on.
at all.
Look, if you're going to talk to me about keeping the facts straight, let's keep the facts straight. There's no mention of Laura Santeca. This is all Jimmy Mac headcanon.
No, that's right. I know. I'm just trying to fill in the blanks because I think that Lore was also part of Luke's exploration into the galaxy, looking for Palpatine or whatever sort of Jedi knowledge they were in search of. I think Laura Santeca was part of that. So yes, in my own headcanon, I imagine a crew of Luke Skywalker, Lando Calrissian, and Laura Santeca, and maybe others that will, get revealed to us along the way. I could be wrong, but I just think that that's a cool place to put the backstory.
Well, I like that. On the Falcon, maybe. No, it couldn't have been the Falcon. The Falcon was
because Han owned the Falcon and then lost it.
Right.
And then,
because he was such a deadbeat.
If I can, I need to jump in here just for a second because I want everyone to know we have heard from our friends at Bose, and they've let us know that we are going to have a pair of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, Bose, Quiet Comfort 35 wireless headphones too, available to give away to one lucky listener who will be attending RFR Live, Skywalker Rises in Ohio this Friday. That's right, we are going to have a pair of these limited edition Star Wars Bose headphones that we will be able to give away to one lucky listener. I am so excited about this. Star Wars and Bose have come together to celebrate Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and their headphones are really amazing. I use them, Swank uses them, and we want you to use them. These Rise of Skywalker Quiet Comfort 35 wireless headphones come in this incredible box that it looks like Kylo Ren's helmet, but there are two doors that separate the center of the mask, and you open them up, and inside you see this poster art featuring Rey locked in a saber duel with Kylo Ren, and the headphones are right in the middle there, just calling to you, put me on, and you want to do that. These headphones are augmented reality enabled, which means they have these little motion sensors that are planted inside the headphones themselves, and they can tell which direction your head and body is moving in while you're wearing them. And you want to wear them because it's the only way you can access an incredible 360-degree Star Wars 3D audio experience, which you can only access via the official Star Wars app. Star Wars and Bose coming together. You open up the app and you'll see right there, it says Bose. You click on that and it takes you on an audio journey that completely surrounds you, that follows the journey of the lightsaber that we will see Rey using in The Rise of Skywalker. It's the very lightsaber Rey holds as she battles Kylo Ren. And you'll follow the journey of this lightsaber from Anakin Skywalker to Luke Skywalker, finally to Rey. The place you want to go is Bose.com/Rebel Force to learn more and get yourself a pair of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Quiet Comfort 35 wireless headphones. Visit Bose.com/Rebel Force. That's Bose.com/Rebel Force.
So, Chris, what?
Chris is raising his hand.
Yes.
Oh, he's coming over here.
Okay.
By the way, he has a chalice of,
So isn't
of Yoda.
part of the beauty of this whole story, the fact is that what Luke did that pissed us all off in The Last Jedi, Rey was doing at the end of this movie, and then that was corrected?
Oh.
Well, okay, we're jumping toward the end.
I know we're jumping towards that, but if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it.
What about the end? Oh, because we're not there yet.
Because the whole thing is like Luke, the whole fear, the whole everything running away from it, he exiled himself. And then Rey, she takes the bad guy's ship back, burns it down to the ground.
Yeah, she's going to exile herself.
Yeah.
Right. She has this. Yeah, she has the same breakdown.
And it takes Luke to come back to fix it.
Right. She has the same breakdown as Luke.
Okay. Yeah.
Essentially.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Total disaster.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. That is absolutely the case. And Luke appears then to tell Rey that how wrong Rian Johnson was.
No,
and
he didn't say that.
He does. He says he was wrong. He was wrong. Yeah.
He was wrong.
He was wrong. He's an egghead. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He didn't say any of that.
All right, he didn't say that. But still, he says I was wrong. And by I mean Rian Johnson.
So
he didn't even know Star Wars.
Let's get back on track with trying to break down the way the story unfolded.
All right.
Because we jumped all the way over to Octu, and I think we'll get there.
Right.
So we're okay. Have we left Pisano yet? They fly now. They fly now. They fly now.
They fly now. We see that happen.
Yes.
All right, and then that's when we get that big curveball thrown at us where we think that Chewie's dead.
We think Chewie's dead.
Yeah, and not only is Chewie dead, but may have been caused by Rey and this force lightning that bursts from her hand. She's playing tug of war.
But I mean, it's
the trailer's ruined it. Wait a minute.
Get over here.
See Chewie with Poe. Of course they ruin it because we see Chewie with Poe and Finn going through the rescue mission. So we know he's not gone.
No.
Never have deleted scenes in them, right?
Exactly. Trailers do have.
Yeah,
is Sheldon wearing a shower curtain?
When was the last time that happened outside of Rogue One?
Or I mean, a shower cap.
Stay on target. So
I can't when we got a bald guy wearing a shower cap.
So that's fine. We get faked out by the Chewie death, but that fake out does not last very long. I mean, really, within a handful of minutes, it's confirmed.
Long enough. And I was sitting next to you. You bought it.
Well, I didn't
it.
I thought they were going to blast Chewie.
Oh no!
Yeah, well,
Literally.
I was very into the movie, but when they marched Chewie out there, I thought they were just going to blast him right there.
Yeah, I did too.
And
Right in front of us.
I think my oh no was more like oh no, but then he was involved in that ship crashing, and I said oh no.
But Rey and Kylo in a struggle of tug of war, forced tug of war.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
And Rey gets really pissed, and that's when the Force lightning comes out, and it causes the ship to explode.
And it's also just her impulsive reaction to recognizing Kylo Ren is out there approaching in his TIE fighter. She leaves there. They have a getaway ship right there.
Right.
They could have just taken off and gotten out of there, but no. She acted on an impulse, much like Luke did when he left Dagobah to go save his friends in Cloud City. She went out there to go take on Kylo Ren head on.
She's doing that throughout this movie. Every chance she gets to confront Kylo Ren, she takes.
But by doing so, Chewbacca gets concerned, leaves the ship, then Finn runs out there. And
Chewie!
By that point, he sees Chewie has been apprehended, and that is Rey's fault because she was acting impulsively when they could have easily gotten away because Poe had fired up the jets on that ship, and they were ready to leave at that moment. And how odd it was the same ship that Rey saw in the Force back in The Force Awakens.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, did anybody catch that guy's name? The guy that was the Jedi hunter? Ochi. Yeah, so she's following the Ho Chi Minh Trail to find the...
He'd been waiting all night for that joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, follow the Ho Chi Minh Trail to discover where Palpatine is.
Yes.
Right? Because apparently this Jedi hunter was also on Palpatine's trail.
Yes.
And Luke was trying to pick up his trail.
See that
lead him
part,
to Palpatine.
I got to see the movie again.
I know, I agree.
That's
all right, anybody else?
There's a lot of detail at that moment. And I almost require
Chris
to see the closed captioning. I wish I could see it that way.
You guys take anything with that snake creature in
the basilisk?
The basilisk, as what we saw in the Clone Wars season 6, the Yoda Chronicles, where he went and he said, "I am the Sith," and
the snake that talks.
Oh,
remember that talking snake? No, but that snake that talked was in the Night Sisters trilogy.
Played a game of musical chairs here.
We only have one sofa and a bed. So you guys go ahead and get comfortable. Okay, I think Chase Norton has something he wants to say. He wants to interject.
I have something to say about the Rey scene with the lightning. It's the first time we've really seen her struggle with something.
Yes.
It's her fault, right? And it kind of it gives some explanation for all her crazy force power she has in the movie, but it also gives her real first challenge, right, and the consequences of her actions. So I thought that was interesting, especially the people who critiqued Rey not really dealing with a lot of stuff through 7 and 8.
Well, for starters, I'm glad you brought that up because we're talking about that tug of war with the ships, and we completely ignored the fact that she displayed mastery of Sith lightning at that moment, which clearly indicates that she was tapping into the dark side. So we see her not only tempted by the dark side, but now she's actually actively tapping
I think it's important, though, to draw a distinction. When you say that she is dipping into the dark side, tapping into the dark side, you kind of you create a perception that there's intent there. I think she's doing it on complete accident, on instinct. I don't think she knows what she's doing. She has no idea. She's surprised. When that lightning shoots out of her hand, she looks like she has the same expression on her face as if lightning shot out of your hand.
But see, when you employ discipline using the Force, what you're doing is you're reaching out with your feelings, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the weirdest thing sometimes when you really think hard about it. Reach out with your feelings. So it's like, well, I feel pretty good, so I'm just going to kind of put that out there. And that's tapping into the light side. I think when you're angry and you're afraid, then you tap into something else. And then that's what produces usage of the dark side. And the Sith lightning is clearly tapping into the dark side. So that's what Rey was doing at that moment.
I think you're dead on because she was more or less in control and calm. And then when she got really pissed, that's when the lightning popped out of her hand and she was.
She lost control.
Yes.
She loses control, and that's when the lightning goes off.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So we see a Rey being challenged now, not necessarily by the events happening or the people around her, but she's being challenged by the Force itself.
Right.
And how she relates to it and connects to it. And so the vision of Dark Rey, that actually comes from a place that's real, because she is opening herself up to the dark side, even if she doesn't necessarily realize it.
Right. And now here's a rare instance where this does harken back to Episode 8, which is when she is drawn to the dark side immediately. Luke says, you didn't even question it, you didn't even stop, you didn't pass go, you just went right there to the darkness.
Yeah, but that's just something Luke sensed. Now we're actually seeing
it, right?
Legitimate confirmation that that's exactly what's going on here.
And we also have Luke saying in 8 that he had only seen this type of power in one other, and that didn't work out so well. The one other being Kylo Ren, he's referring to Rey.
Right. And there's so many parallels between those two characters.
Right.
It only makes sense.
So many parallels that they form a what?
Force dyad.
Yeah.
That's a force.
It's a dyad.
Dyad.
Yeah. Does anyone have a phone they can look up and see what the definition of dyad is?
I think it means like two things that are connected together that form a greater energy.
Two ads.
Dyads.
Unad versus dyad. Or
but gonad. That's the type of stuff that gets revealed with Palpatine and the things that he's talking about. DYAD, I believe, is how you spell it.
Yeah,
Pablo.
So they form a dyad.
What? Oh, you're going to hand it to me. I will read it
here.
Dyad, something that consists of two elements or parts.
Okay.
So kind of.
That is a perfect word for this. It explains nothing. Therefore, we can't get in trouble with this.
It just sounds good for a dark side guy.
Dyad. No, I'm good. Thank you.
It has the hard D's in it.
Dyad. Dark side dyad. Well, that works. That's good dialogue.
All right, what happens next?
Okay, Chewie is on board, and they have to rescue Chewie now. Now they have to come up with a scheme to rescue
Rey senses
Chewie.
She's looking out. She sees the Star Destroyer, Kylo's Star Destroyer, and she senses that Chewie's up.
Yes. So they go on board, and during that rescue mission, they separate. Because then again, Rey working off the impulses, the same thing that got her out onto the desert plain to face down Kylo.
Or she's that
and
killer
his TIE
backflip.
fighter. Yes, she wants to, and that was a great move. It was cool to finally see that backflip come to its completion, and what happens is she slices off the solar panel off the TIE fighter.
That was terrible. It was not Star Warsy at all.
No, that was very Star Warsy.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon style.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Backflip.
That was awesome.
That flies in the face of the visual language of Star Wars. Show me another slow motion. Yeah,
JJ has done a lot of stuff like that, though. That's a JJ Abrams.
I'm not talking about JJ. I'm talking about Star Wars.
I thought it was great.
But Sheldon is here demonstrating.
We saw Ahsoka do something similar in the Clone Wars,
right? In a
when
cartoon,
she jumped all over the.
Sheldon was demonstrating a lot of the Rey stances, which are very like Spider-Man like.
What? All right, you're saying it's a move. Well, it's the Spider-Man, or the classic superhero landing.
She's doing that very superhero.
I believe they make a joke out of that in the original Deadpool movie, where they're like, stick to the superhero landing, Remember that? That's what you guys are talking about. So we see a little of that from Rey. Okay, whatever. She is a superhero.
Right.
Rey is a superhero. So Jason doesn't like her cutting off the solar panel. I thought it was bitchin'. And I love the
I liked her cutting off the solar panel. I just don't know why it had to be in slow motion. Like, I get it. She flipped. I don't need to see it slow down for me.
I liked it. I liked it. I liked.
Yeah, they got to play to the Asian audience.
So they separate on board the Star Destroyer, and Rey goes to again hunt down Kylo Ren or hunt down something. She wants the Force artifact, the dark.
She wants the dagger. She wants the dagger.
She wants the dagger.
Yes.
So she goes into Kylo's his boudoir and finds it there, and then they start Force timing. They start Force timing and have a duel.
Yeah, they Force time, and that's where I love this movie, but I feel like the Force time is it's so cheap. It's such a device. I mean, because it allows these characters to fight. They're not even in the same room technically.
But I mean, keep in mind they have that dialogue in that moment before they duel, and Kylo reveals to her that he has the information she wants. Okay, and then he insists on delivering that information personally. So that's the end of the Force time stuff.
The Force time, isn't that all being orchestrated in Episode 8 by Snoke?
Yes, but Palpatine is Snoke.
But Palpatine is Snoke. That's a good point. So that's why they're still able to communicate even after Snoke dies. Because Palpatine, again, Snoke is literally a puppet.
Yes, he is 100% a puppet. He's a marionette.
Yeah,
he's a no. Most likely not.
Yeah, he may not even be real.
Yeah, he was created in a vat.
Yeah,
right.
Weekend at Palpatine's. That's right, but it's Weekend at Snoke's.
Yeah, and I believe
I got no strings to hold me down.
He was like powered by the essence of Palpatine, essentially. He was just another vehicle for Palpatine, I guess.
You could almost, if you went back and re-edited Episode 8 and Episode 7 and 8. Well, I know, because it's flawless. We wouldn't want to do that. We wouldn't want to touch that masterpiece. But if you went back and you touched Episode 7 and 8 and just threw Palpatine in with all of Snoke's dialogue makes sense if you put it through the mouthpiece of Palpatine. It all makes sense.
So then Kylo comes to the Star Destroyer. They have a little bit of a showdown in the hangar there, and then the Falcon shows up because Hux is revealed as the spy.
Hux is the spy.
You know, much like Callus Part 2, from Rebels. Yeah, everyone knew that Hux was going to flip.
It's always the ginger. Is that what you said?
And it had nothing to do with any politics or idealism. It was just he thought Kylo Ren was a dick and wanted his revenge on Kylo. That's right. All that it came down to. Very simple, very straightforward.
Well, once Snoke was out of the way, Hux was like, well, all right, now this guy's...
He was. In The Last Jedi.
He was true. Ready to shoot him right on the spot.
That is true, because he was ambitious, and he wanted to be the supreme ruler.
Right.
But he can't compete with the guy who's strong in the Force like Kylo Ren.
So they're on the Star Destroyer, and they're about to be executed. Finn, Poe, and who else? And Chewie.
Yes.
They're all about to be executed, and then Hux finds a way to...
He reveals. He says he wants to do it, takes a blast.
I'm the spy, he says subtly.
I'm the spy. It was all me. It was my idea. It was all... Right. It was a Hux idea. Hux exclusive. Me.
He asks Finn to shoot him in the arm so that it looks like he, had some sort of battle, where these guys escaped.
Yes.
And Finn just shoots him in the leg. And he's like,
leg. What? He was aiming for the sack. But Hux moved at the last second, took him the leg.
There's no debate whether or not Finn shot first. It's clear he shot first. Boom. Right in the leg. He goes down and he says, why are you helping us? Why are you doing this? And he goes, I don't care if you win or lose. I just need Kylo Ren to lose.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah. It's
like, oh, this is so high school. But, hey, grudges
most
in
people,
the First Order.
A lot of people don't grow out of that.
You don't grow
those same
out of
things that they do in high school. All right, so they escape, right?
What did we miss?
Cleveland
Chris, we missed something.
So you guys missed the setup on how they got on the Star Destroyer. Remember they went to the planet Kojimi, where they met Sori Bliss.
Oh, of course,
Babu
yes.
Frick, C-3PO.
And they had
that was a pivotal moment in that movie.
But didn't that happen after they acquired the dagger? And didn't they?
No, because remember,
It was prior to the dagger?
in C-3PO's memory banks, and they needed to extract it because he couldn't speak in Sith.
But isn't the dagger imprinted because they had acquired it and he looked at it?
Well, that's what I mean. They needed to go to Kijimi to use Babu Frick to rewire C-3PO to read the imprint of the dagger because they didn't have the dagger.
But so that happened after the Star Destroyer.
No, before.
Well, when did they acquire the dagger then? On the planet.
So they were on Pisana. They didn't actually get the dagger. Kylo, the Knights of Ren took the dagger. That's why it was in Kylo's chamber, right?
Right.
So they used C-3PO's memory banks because he goes, oh, I actually have imprinted this, but I can't read it. So they're like, dude, we got to hack into C-3PO. So then they're like, oh, we're going to go to Kijimi.
By the way, I'm sorry, I just want to pause. There's a law in the New Republic that prohibits a droid from translating the language of the Sith.
That's right. You made that clear.
So 3PO, even if he wanted to, would not be able to reveal what the dagger said.
But refresh my memory again.
Yeah.
When did Rey acquire the dagger?
Rey got the dagger after C-3PO was hacked into. She got the dagger separately from all that.
Then how did C-3PO see the dagger and download the information?
No, because they had the dagger. Rey originally had the dagger when they went through those sand pits. They were in the
That's what I'm
tunnels.
asking you.
Yeah.
How did she get the dagger?
Yeah. So, yeah.
How did Chewie get it?
Chewie had it in it. Chewie had it in his sack.
It was nice seeing that
Chewie has the big knife in
And
his
where
sack.
did Chewie get it from? How did Rey get the Sith dagger? What pit?
With the serpent.
Okay, the snake pit.
When they found the
missed-
body.
we
skipped
missed
that part.
We missed the yes.
Okay,
that's what
so
Chris has been
they
trying to
hid-
say. Thank you, Chris.
All right, so they found. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
they have the Indiana
they
Jones
went into
moment.
the quicksand and they came in. They were in the caverns, and the caverns were Ochi's lair.
Right.
And BB-8 was able to see the buried dagger. They retrieved the dagger. You know what? You're so right. I missed that whole part. Okay, so I was under.
We've
the
only
impression-
seen it once, Chris.
Well, I mean, just there was so much happening in this movie. So
No
much
notepad.
happening. There was enough happening for 2 movies in this very movie.
Right.
So,
And you're like
yes.
twice Chris's age.
Oh, easily. Hey, listen, I am Baby Yoda's age, guys, okay? So you guys can all suck it. That's right. I have the youth of a Baby Yoda.
Yes. All right.
Okay, back to episode 9.
They go through the quicksand. They end up in the caverns.
Yes.
And they come upon the remains of Ochi.
And that was on Kijimi. That was on Zori Bliss's. Oh, that was on Pisana.
Yeah. But by the way, we learned that Poe has a phobia against skeletons.
Yeah, he has.
Indiana Jones style. Bones. Yeah.
Oh.
He's like, I don't like bones.
All that
Bones.
stuff.
Why did it
got
have to
by
be
me.
bones?
Good. I'm glad we're replaying all of this
Yeah.
because you're right. We missed that whole part. And so Rey has the dagger when she's on board the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, she does.
Sees the Star Destroyer from Kijimi.
Right. Why does she carry the dagger with her onto the Star Destroyer?
She doesn't. She doesn't at all. So when Chewie gets captured by the Knights of Ren, and they go,
He has the
yeah,
dagger.
in his satchel, right? So
And Kylo took
Took it.
Chewie's bandolier. Okay.
Yeah, you
oh
got-
my
okay.
God. Okay.
That's why you see Rey sneaking around Kylo's bedroom.
Yes.
Well, actually, his Smithsonian, and he sees the bandolier. She sees the bandolier there. She sees
The Vader helmet.
The Vader helmet. She sees the dagger. So she gets the dagger. The dagger
Daggers and wayfinders and oh my.
Yeah, right. We haven't even gotten
Daggers and wayfinders. Oh my. Sorry.
So what's next?
So Kijimi, Star Destroyer.
Yes.
Rescue Chewie. They rescue Rey from the hangar on the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
She jumps on board the ramp. Off they go.
Gone.
gone because Hux led them to the Falcon and all that. He's instantly found out, and Admiral Pride shoots Hux.
Yes.
Takes him
We
out.
found our spy.
Full blood. Yes.
How did he know? I didn't catch
Just because he's a brilliant military mind and sees right through Hux's bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, I just swore. I'm sorry. What is that? Okay, I just want to look at the
time code.
The time code.
Yeah, well, he definitely understands that, Hux's alibi is pretty poor. He's got that gunshot to the leg.
Yes,
and he's a ginger, and usually,
ginger hate.
Yeah,
in a galaxy far, far away.
They just, I don't hate them or anything. They just don't have souls.
My son is a ginger. Thank you very much.
I know that.
Thank you very much. My child.
So sensitive. Your baby Yoda.
The
your
seed
first
of my
baby
loins.
Yoda.
Get away from me. Oh, Sheldon's like the carpet matches the drapes, and he's got no drapes. Okay, so let's get back to this, you guys. This is
understand. How do you lose all that hair on your head, but not anywhere else?
Yes, he was going to show us where else.
God has a sense of humor, clearly.
Let's get back to sheathe your lightsaber, sir. Sheathe? Is that a word? Oh, thank God they didn't call him Sheev in this movie.
I am Sheev Palpatine.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
Now that would have been
Sheev. They all start laughing at him.
That would have been pandering. Sheev. Bringing in the sheaves. All right.
Slip in between the sheaves. The sheets with Sheev.
There was probably more Palpatine dialogue in this movie than there was in any other Star Wars movie. Now, I'm not talking about Chancellor. I'm talking about he was. He just lets it all. I made Snoke. He just goes from there and kind of narrates the whole thing almost.
Yeah. No, I mean, he does. He tells you enough. He tells you what you need to know. He moves the story along right away from the very beginning, in my opinion.
He's kind of the narrator of this thing in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm.
The story of the Sith,
or what was he saying?
Yeah, the end of the story of Skywalker.
Really looking forward to getting familiar with this movie. Let me tell you.
Yeah, there's a lot
just
to
having
unpack.
this initial imprint of it is bringing out a lot of thrills. So getting to know this movie is going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so they lose the dagger, right?
They lose the dagger. So where is the dagger?
Well, where is the dagger?
They get it back. When she gets the bandolier, she gives it to 3PO, and he takes it.
That's right. And then he says, "Oh, it's a Sith language, and I can't repeat it."
That's when all that happens. Now we're caught up.
And he's a jerk.
Yes.
He's a jerk to him.
Yes. And then then they have to go. Then Poe says, "I know where we can go take 3PO to get reprogrammed."
Because the only way they got on the Star Destroyer. So that whole Kijimi scene got set up because Zori Bliss gave him the coin that gave them entry to get on the Star Destroyer. So the dagger is just gone. I mean, no, Rey has it.
Ray has it.
Hang on. Rey grabs it from the Star Destroyer, and she uses it eventually to look at the Death Star remnants when she pulls out that little, that whatever that protractor thing is.
Yes.
Yeah. So she has it. So Rey now has it on the Falcon. The Falcon is now, Dakar, or wherever they're at, Yavin. They go back to, they have all those Leia scenes at the base. That's where we're at right now.
Hey, was that planet ever identified?
No.
Where the Resistance base was?
I looked into it. I couldn't even find anything.
Yeah, right.
It's a jungle planet.
It's a jungle. They prefer the jungle planets. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of places we can hide, but do you have anything in the jungle planet variety? We'd love to hang there. We tried the snow once, and it sucked.
Yeah,
believe me.
Monsters and
you get
shit.
the cracked knuckles and stuff. It's better on my skin if we find a jungle hideout. Okay, I happen to know one. It's just like Yavin. It's just like Dakar.
But it's not.
It's not.
It's not those.
But it's a jungle planet for sure.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's jungle, right? I mean, rainforest, right? We're talking the same thing.
It's the same milieu.
It's like, yes, that's what Snap Wexley was doing.
Right.
He was looking for, that's why he wasn't in The Last Jedi, is because he was looking specifically for a jungle planet.
That's right.
To hide out in.
And he finds it, and that's where we are. So Oh, wait a minute. This looks like it's a more interesting
I noticed in the background of one of the wide shots, you would see, like, I could swear I saw Jeff Probst and a tribe wearing purple bandanas around their heads. They were, and it looked like they were ready to do a physical challenge. It was physical challenge, or they were going to go to tribal council.
Is that a Survivor restaurant?
That's a Survivor reference.
Survivor?
Well, I mean, that's where they are. They're always in the jungles in Survivor, right? Or in like tropical. All right. So, enough. Back to the movie, okay?
Back to the movie, where we last left Rey and her companions.
Okay, so do they have the dagger? You were wrong.
Oh, wait a minute.
Cleveland Chris was wrong.
They have the dagger.
They
They're
have
on
the
Falcon.
dagger.
They're on the Falcon.
They got the
And
dagger.
remember, the scene after Rey jumps on the ramp, they go, "Oh, our landing gear's busted."
Yes. Right.
And so they are on the route to a moon of Endor, Kif Bur, or whatever it is.
Burr.
Right? Is that Kif Bur?
And that's where Hannah and the horses
and that's
are.
where they slide the Falcon in through the mud, and they meet
Right.
Hannah. Yep. So now we're on this Endor moon, Kef Bur.
We're essentially trying to do a film commentary, having only seen this goddamn thing one time. Whatever happened to our initial opinions and ideas?
I like it this way.
Really?
Yes, because it helps me piece together the movie and figure it all out.
Uh-huh.
Don't
we have like a comic adaptation or something we can go by? Where's Wikipedia?
No, I like it better this way, piecing it together.
As a group, this is the epitome of group therapy.
This is therapy.
Group think, yeah.
Right.
Look at this motley crew we assembled.
They're on Kef Bir, and that's where they go to the ruins of the Death Star.
The ruins of the Death Star. Okay. Clearly Death Star 2. I think that we can assume that because it is in the Endor system.
Yes.
This leads into, I think, one of the most satisfying and intense sequences in the whole saga. I really think this battle on this this remnant of the Death Star that's being pummeled with these waves that are stories and stories tall, and then of course leading up to two things. One, the first time we actually see Rey losing a fight with Kylo Ren. Really?
Yeah, he clearly had the upper hand.
He has the upper hand. Now, here's a question, and Chris and I were talking about this earlier, so I'm going to throw it out to you, Jimmy, and, of course, the group here. Leia, according to Maz Kanata, has to essentially give up her life to help her son.
Yes, it's like the way Luke reached out to Kylo.
Right.
The effort killed him.
Now,
and now the effort
here's the
kills
question.
Leia.
We see two things happen at this moment. One, we see Kylo gain the upper hand on Rey in the lightsaber battle, and we see the appearance of Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Question, is Leia making that happen? Is Leia making the Han Solo appear? Han Solo is not Force sensitive. Han Solo cannot appear. Or is Leia inside Kylo's head?
Yeah, maybe. It's his father, but that.
Okay. Chris.
Oh, come here.
Chris
You gotta
A
get on mic
says.
if you're gonna say
Chris A
anything.
says he's not being manipulated. This is all happening organically out of Kylo.
This is Kylo basically looking at his life and going, he's gone a path. He committed to it. He said, I can't come back to it. I need your help. I sacrificed you.
Mm-hmm.
And the remorse from that, the patricide that came from that, he realizes he was wrong. I mean, it's just, I don't care who your parents are. They're your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but what generated that vision in the Force?
So moved.
Was it Leia?
Yeah.
Was it Leia? Leia brings me back, and somehow I've aged 5 years since I've been dead. Couldn't she brought back, younger me, like Mos Eisley Cantina version of me?
Where's that young kid that plays me in that other movie?
First, I gained weight when I was frozen in carbonite. Nobody explained that.
You can't burn no calories.
Now I've aged 5 years since I've been dead.
This scene really, though, this I
Chewie
thought
looks younger somehow.
Well, because he is. He's not played by an 80-year-old man who's terribly ill.
It's ageism.
Yes. Okay. Well,
I'm dead.
Well,
Chewie, I'm dead.
The point being that Han approaches Kylo because this is the moment where Kylo he realizes that you get a sense between that last confrontation between Kylo and Rey leading into this moment that he would flip, he would turn, but he doesn't think he has a choice. He doesn't think his mother will ever accept him. He doesn't think that he has any way out, so he just has to continue down this path. And that's when his father appears to him that basically says, son, you could go home at any time. Go home now. Go be with your mother. Well, don't go be with, because he knows his mother's gone at this point. He senses through the Force that she's gone.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's basically giving him forgiveness, and they literally play out the episode 7 scene again, to the point where he even says the same dialogue. I know what I have to do, but I'm too afraid to do it, or I'm not sure I can do it. Whatever it is, and he has the lightsaber. And he does what we hoped he was going to do in episode 7, which is just to chuck it. It's his second chance, as Sheldon is saying. And he chucks it out into the ocean waves, and that's the moment that we've got.
Now Ben's
Kylo
back.
is dead, and Ben is back.
Ben Demption.
Ben Demption.
So it
hashtag.
happened. So it finally happened.
Yeah, please do.
So we did pass over the healing of Kylo. So
yes.
So that's the foreshadowing of I think they even explained it earlier of Rey was sending her force to him to heal. So it's kind of foreshadowing of what will be coming up.
That's a good one. And let us not forget that we, as Star Wars viewers, just watched an episode, Chapter 7 of The Mandalorian, where we see Baby Yoda exert his force healing powers.
Yes.
Any accident here that we rolled right from that into this?
Yeah.
Probably not. All very premeditated to say, hey, everybody, this is a force power. Accept it. This is what we're going to see.
It's like the Holy Chalice from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade almost.
Right. He pours it on
right.
Sean Connery's hairy chest, and it all... The hair goes away. You burned off my hair. Yo, Rich Brendel playing bartender.
Thank you, Rich, for
very nice
serving us libations as we.
Yep, we appreciate it. He even brought eggnog.
We go through all of this. So
the number one drinker in the world.
It's fantastic.
Rise Skywalker.
The Rye of Skywalker. He made his own brew.
Rye of Skywalker.
I have officially christened. Rich Brendel is the Friar Tuck of the merry band of Rebel Force Radio family here. He's the Friar Tuck.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think he resembles that remark.
Welcome to the merry men.
Yeah. The Lord's brew. He brings to us.
The Lord's brew. What's the name of it again? The Rye of Skywalker.
It's rye honey beer.
Rye honey beer.
Yeah, home brewed.
From the home brewery of Rich Brendel. Wisconsin! Yeah, hey there. So, okay, so now
we have Ben Demption.
But just to rewind on the scene a little bit, number one, Rey goes out to the remains of the Death Star, crosses the treacherous ocean waves, showing incredible nautical skill for a scavenger who grew up on a desert planet.
Is there nothing she can't do, ladies and gentlemen? Is there nothing Rey cannot do?
So
the answer is no. She can do it all. But she is a Palpatine. But I got to say, she is fueled by this mania. She's closer than she's ever been to discovering to the dark side.
She's very driven,
to discovering. And as close as she is to Finn, there's a moment on that during that battle where she force pushes Finn away. And it's not necessarily in the I'm trying to protect you. It's more in the stay out of this.
This is not your arena.
This is not, yeah.
Right.
She even says to Finn at one point, she says, everyone thinks that they know me, but I don't think anyone knows me.
Right.
So she's feeling very alone, very isolated, her against the world.
And still trying to figure it out herself.
Right.
But the thing about Finn, did we ever find out the revelation that Finn had something he wanted to reveal to Rey there when they were facing death? And did that ever...
It's one of two things.
I love you, I know.
Nope, it's not necessarily I love you. It's that I have force powers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have this feeling.
Too. I've been sort of noticing something going on here,
I've got a tingling sensation going on.
When the TV remote is across the room, sometimes it just kind of floats into my hand. I can't explain it.
Or when I'm cutting fruit.
You can see things before they happen. It's a Jedi trait.
Yeah. Now, and it's also insinuated when he meets Janna, who Janna is also, along with her compatriots, former stormtroopers.
Yes.
That they abandoned the First Order based on I don't know, it was like a feeling.
Yeah,
I
felt it.
Feeling. And then they realize that is what it was. And that's when you first start to see that maybe the thing that called to them was the Force.
Yeah.
And they were recruited as infants. So you got to assume if they're scooping up all these children across the galaxy, you're bound to scrape up a few Force sensitives. And those are the ones. Now, the question is, why was Jaina's whole garrison or battalion, they call them battalions in this movie, but is there garrisons everywhere else? Why was this whole battalion Force sensitives? Just
he was in the bathroom. Sheldon says,
"Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that part when he got back." I was like, "Yeah, she was a stormtrooper too."
Yeah, she was a stormtrooper, and so
Sheldon was. You were in the bathroom when that happened.
I missed the whole Jaina thing. And then she's talking to Lando later.
Yeah, she's talking to Lando later, and he's like, "You remind me of one of my illegitimate children." And she said, "What?" And he says, "I am your daddy." No,
whatever happens in Cloud City stays
but
in
they imply
City.
that they're going to get their own spin-off series, them going off in the galaxy to determine who what her origin is, who her parents are. I don't know anything about my past. That's right. Let's find out. Yeah.
Interesting.
The Love Boat.
What could they potentially be setting up there? That is something that was kind of left open-ended, Janna. And is there some sort of connection between her and Lando?
Man, I was glad that didn't happen because there was just too much going on. I mean, once you find out that your lead protagonist is related to the Emperor of the Universe, like that's I'm good on the family ties.
That's enough
for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, we're good now. Yeah. we got to figure out. We got this big thing to figure out right now.
Exactly.
Lando and his kids.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll save that for Disney Plus. But
or minus,
what have you. All right, but end result of that duel with Kylo and the Bendemption and all of that, we do lose. We finally General Leia. We lose Carrie Fisher.
We lose General Leia.
Finally becomes one with the Force.
So let's talk a little bit about Carrie Fisher's use in this movie. I was one of the ones that said, let's recast this role, because what we knew at the time was that Episode 7 was Han's movie, Episode 8 was Luke's movie, and Episode 9 was to be Leia's movie. And this was back during the Colin Trevorrow days. We were saying, look, we can't sacrifice story just because the actress or the actor passes away. I would feel that way about any of the main characters and the actors that played them. I think that it's important that they live on. And so there was this very kind of Puritan way of saying, well, no, we're going to take this beautiful, pristine footage that the gods smiled on us and gave to us, and it just so happens it just fit every line of dialogue that we could have possibly imagined, and we're going to just beautifully insert her. She was extraordinarily manipulated in this film, vocally as well as physically. I'm not complaining. I think it was really well done. But I just kind of go back and be like, yeah, but you guys were on your high horse about how this was going to be just so pure in its treatment. And I think other than her face, that's about all that's exists or was used of the original footage.
Well, I don't know about that, and I'm sure we'll find out eventually in some making of book or documentary or webisode. They're not going to show us how they did that. Maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see her in a scene with her daughter.
It's great.
That was cool. Connix is a character that I thought was really underused in this film compared to her usage in The Last Jedi. I would have liked to actually see more of her. I do like Billie Lourd a lot, and of course that connection. She's Carrie Fisher's daughter.
It's a great. Yeah.
I just loved having her in the movie just because of that, and like I said, because of one of the most resounding elements of this entire saga is the family. And so to have Carrie and her daughter there, that's really interesting. But it was just at the end, though. It was just like all of a sudden she just kind of turned around and like lay down,
Yeah, she
and
did.
that felt a little awkward to me.
Did it?
Yes. You had Maz there, or Maz. You had her there, and she was kind of explaining, like, hey, here's what's happening here.
She
which
just
was so
realized.
necessary.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that stuff I really need to take a closer look at again. As it was unfolding, it was just like, hitting you on different levels. And so I'm waiting for that moment. I'm like, all right, here it is. We're finally going to get the death of Leia. We've seen the death of Han. We've seen the death of Luke. Now we're getting the death of Leia. There's the end of the big three. And so I was waiting for it to hit me, and it never really did until, and Chris Amram will agree with me on this one, is when they informed Chewie that Leia died, and he went down on his knees. And then I was just like, oh, here it is. Here it is.
This the waterworks?
That's when the first one? The welling up started.
Yeah.
And then eventually I think it got intense enough to where the single tear came down on my right cheek, which I was relieved because you were sitting to my left.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I can't let Swank see this.
I kept looking over
because he's going to tell Eric.
I was looking for the
he's going to tell everyone.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Mac's been going off all year. I think January of 2019 was the first time I started going, why are people always crying at Star Wars? What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? But then I started reconsidering that when I saw Avengers Endgame, and it elicited an emotional response from me. But that was minor compared to the tidal wave of emotion that hit me at least on 7 or 8 different occasions while watching Episode 9.
Yeah.
So I can never say anything to anyone again about having an emotional response.
Chewie couldn't deal with anymore.
Chewie
Chewie already,
I think, within the context of the film.
He'd had enough.
But seeing a trailer and just seeing an image of a character or a ship or whatever on a trailer, just getting a flash of an image, to start crying and blubbering like a fool by seeing that when it's not in context, that I still don't understand. And I will still be a jerk about it. But I will admit that I was very emotional watching this movie the whole way through, and I still feel it, actually. I feel like I had a good cry. I'm saying this, guys. I felt like I had a good cry tonight.
All right, so...
I'm an emotional fool.
All right, well, come over here, fool. You got to speak on a microphone. By the way, he said he was an emotional fool. I'm just not randomly calling our old friend Rich Brindle a fool.
Right, our bartender did.
Yes. All right,
Tuck.
All right, speak, fool.
All right, so I'm an emotional fool when it comes to like movies and stuff. A lot, when it hits the feels, I don't mind showing the waterworks a little bit. Even when I'm sitting at the Home Alone watching a movie or something, it happens.
What if you're home alone watching Home Alone?
Yes. Last week, yes.
And the scene with the old man, and when his family finally comes at the end and they're hugging. And
yes, exactly.
Waves to Kevin.
It hits me. It hits me.
It does, yeah.
So
the old man got to me.
Probably half of the movie hit me. Like the Carrie thing hit me. Just everything coming to an end. That part hit me.
That was in your head, right? That's what they wanted you to be thinking about.
Yeah, the very end on Tatooine and stuff. That was very powerful. But what didn't hit me was the trailers.
I agree.
They did not hit one emotional trigger in me at all. So nothing against Mr. Butts, or is it Mike? Is it Eric Butts? I mean, he can cry all he wants, but It wasn't emotional to me. Like the trailer wasn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
And Eric Butts has about 250,000 hits on his little videos, and I think the top video on the RFR YouTube channel is about a solid 32K. So, he's actually,
he's doing
probably
all right.
He's representing, I think, a lot of the emotions people feel as they watch some of these movies, and so. But okay, so
where are we
got
in our
Chewie,
story? Yeah, Chewie, he
reacting
drops to his
the
knees.
death of Leia.
Yeah, he had enough.
We have Han returning and having that.
Are those panties? What's laying underneath the?
Stop! That's the same thing that distracted you earlier. Pay attention here.
What are you talking about?
We're right in the middle of the
I
movie.
never noticed that before. What is that?
It's the thing Sheldon was
all right.
wearing.
Well,
on
it
his
looks
head.
blue, and it looked like a pair of panties underneath the hotel bed. I'm like, what kind of joint is this?
All right. Can we get back to the
made out of-
conversation here about the
All
movie?
right. All right, let's do it. Chewie's wailing.
So
He's
Chewie,
upset.
and then Han is returned. He had that tender moment with
Yep.
his son. As a father
Yep,
to
it
two
was
boys,
amazing.
I connected to that.
And by the way, the
father-son
whole
level.
"Hey kid," I mean,
the
it's
hey
just,
kid, come on,
off
So that-
camera.
It was wonderful. Actually,
it really was incredible.
yes. What his last words to his son was, "I know." Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
I
that
did
was,
not catch that. Now I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
You just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. So that was
I didn't catch it.
A very nice moment right there, right? So so Kylo now he's seen the light, but Rey has taken off in his ship, right? She's taken his TIE fighter and she's heading to Ahch-To to essentially mirror what Luke was doing. She's like, I've had enough of this.
Yeah. Well, that's at this point she realizes she's a Palpatine. He has
That
told
has
her at
been
this
revealed
point
to
that
her.
she's a Palpatine. She can't deal with this truth. She knows that she is perhaps a danger to the people around her. She saw herself lose control with these new force powers. She's out. She's going to do exactly. She's like, Luke had the right idea. She lands the craft. She catches it on fire. She's chucking stuff into the fire and
throws the
lightsaber. And this was the moment when I had my emotional outburst.
Oh, with Luke.
Yeah.
Well, it was just this, 1, 2, 3, Leia, Han, and now Luke. And we're getting it all right in the middle of this movie where there's a lot of intense stuff happening at one time. And then all of a sudden Luke's there. And he's truly Force spirit. And he grabs the saber mid-flight. And doesn't he say something like, that's no way to treat a lightsaber?
He said, no Jedi treats his weapon with such disrespect.
Okay. And so that goes back to an old rumor we heard over the summer and reported on RFR that something like that happens. I was led to believe that happened during the training sequence, but here it is on Dakar. On Ahch-To, and it makes all the sense. It makes all the sense in the world. So, and then Luke, and that sort of redeems Luke from throwing the saber over his shoulder,
right?
Which completely.
He says no Jedi would ever do this.
Yeah, deconstructed the entire end of
and
The Force Awakens.
Well, and it goes beyond that because Rey confronts him with some of the logic that he was throwing on her in Episode 8, and he just looks at her and goes, "Yeah, I was wrong."
Now, but Luke is someone who did throw his saber away in the heat of battle, and believe that was the most Jedi
Jake
thing you could do.
Skywalker.
No, I'm talking about Return of the Jedi.
Well, but that was for a completely different purpose. That was not a dereliction of duty. That was him
laying down his arms.
Laying down his arms and setting his own rules in terms of what he will and won't do.
Okay, yeah. It wasn't an act of protest. And Luke throwing the saber over his shoulder in The Last Jedi is an act of protest. Rey throwing the saber into the fire that's the TIE fighter burning, that's an act of protest. So Luke grabs it and they have a little chit-chat. And he sits down next to her just like Obi-Wan did.
He sure does.
When he appeared to Luke. Now, does Luke his spirit just hang on Ahch-To all the time?
I don't think so.
Yoda appeared there.
Well, he does, but I think these Jedi spirits can appear anywhere depending on who they're appearing to. I think they're more or less appearing to the
to the consciousness of the individual that's experiencing it, rather than the physical location.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, the spirits show up at the end at Tatooine,
right,
at the Lars homestead. Which at that moment,
keep looking at the. Are we running out of space on the memory card?
Fool. No, I just obsess over.
Oh, okay.
Looking at the levels of our recording as we go along. It's
30 years
I do that comforts me, and I find a lot of comfort in the
Chris, what have we forgotten? Anything? We're good. All right.
So
what's next?
So she now assumes Luke's famous X-wing.
Oh, the levitation of the X-wing. Okay,
and
have
she
we
wears
seen
his helmet and everything.
All right, outside of Yoda. Okay,
it was just in the cockpit.
Yeah, he takes it off and just kind of puts it in the glove compartment.
Just puts it there.
Well, a lot.
He's got a little. It was No, it was fine.
Well, so was she when she flew that ship for the first time. So he has this is the first time that we see a Force ghost or a Force spirit exert Jedi power,
and he lifts the X-wing out of the water.
Well, Yoda does in Episode 8.
Yes,
but that doesn't count because that's a Ryan Johnson.
It totally
movie.
counts. It counts 100%.
So if it's Ryan
it's 100%
Johnson,
canon, and it counts.
We can all be a little
clearly is part of
sketchy about that
saga. So Luke lifts the X-wing out of the water, and of course, you think of Yoda and
the Yoda theme,
and Empire Strikes Back, and it just shows you how far Luke has truly become in his quest to be a Jedi.
And certainly not the first time in the score of this film, by the way, that we see the return of all these major motifs.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I really loved the score.
It was great.
And it was not just like a greatest hits, reel of retelling. They were the way that they linked them all together and reorchestrated in places. I just thought it was extraordinary. Well done. Did somebody
take a picture of the screenshots? Because
we
need to know all of the Jedi voices that appeared at the end. But getting into that final conflict, now you have Poe and Finn, and they're clearly running the show with the Resistance. They lead them into battle to the planet Exgol, right? I'm saying that right? What's it called? Brexit? I thought he was saying X.
God, I thought Halliburton was bad. Now we got Brexit.
Oh, Brexit?
Yeah,
like Brexit?
So
like Brexit? That's weird. I thought he said welcome to Mexico when they got there. I didn't know.
Welcome to Brexit.
Welcome to Brexit. So okay,
we're gonna attack that starship Farage up there.
So there's a lot of eye candy happening during this whole sequence with the horses riding on the hull of the Star Destroyer. I thought in context was pulled off
I
great.
like that because we know that the banthas were just elephants covered in some fur.
Right. And the First Order is expecting speeders, right? They said
that's
speeders,
right.
And they're like, they're not on speeders, and you see they're just on these mounted steeds. And so again,
you can't jam them.
Again, you can't. And so again, it's reflecting the thing about the primitive, going up against the technological might of the Empire, or in this case, the First Order. In Return of the Jedi, you had the Ewoks using their primitive methods to fight, and then now you see they're using a primitive method to fight against this technological terror.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Oh, just to rewind for a second, just hearing myself say technological terror, I flashed back to Episode 4 and Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin there in the meeting room, and we got kind of a scene that in this movie where you had the First Order officers all there, and they were creepy in the way that First Order officers should be in the proud tradition of the Empire. And that's when you get introduced to Pride, and Hux is there, and some other weird-looking dudes. So I just thought, I like that callback. That was, to me, again, just these little elements that feel so Star Wars-y when it happens.
Seeing Kylo in that context.
Yes.
He's in the Vader role.
Yes, and he's back with his mask on, She's like, I kind of like it. She's like,
that was kind of
I'm down with that. Yeah,
that was a little weird.
That was a little weird, but it was. I didn't think it was something that took me out of the moment. But that's just a little scene from earlier in the movie. Now we're at the big finale here, where they're what? How do they all breathe? They're still within the atmosphere of that planet. Well, no, I think they were just right above the icy water there from which they emerged from. We can't. Listen. We're thinking grand.
Rich's
big
official
here.
Judgment on that is.
Listen, guys, we'll work our way through it. Don't nitpick. Let's think about the big picture here, and get down to that duel now, where you have Rey confronting the Emperor.
Yep.
She ventures into his throne room, just like we saw Kylo do earlier in the movie. And he gets lowered. I guess, does he get lowered down by like there's a crane lifting him around and stuff? So it's interesting to see the ultimate puppet master being used as almost a puppet himself at that moment. But
he's hooked up to all kinds of things.
Yeah, he needs all that. And then it gets revealed that he has a stadium full of all these acolytes and worshipers, and
they're all like Palpatine, Palpatine.
Yeah. It was good. It was like the Rose Bowl, and so they're. So he basically reveals his whole plan now. He
monologues.
Use her, in the way that great villains do.
Tell you every part of my plan.
Yeah,
you and the audience who are completely lost at this point. Well, old Papa Palpatine's back to put it in perspective for you.
So. Wait, no, you're way off, Mike. Nobody hears you. So we have to stay focused. Please stay focused. Stay focused. Because this is the big showdown. This is where everything ends up.
Yes. This is big.
This is big. So he wants to transfer his essence over to her when she kills him.
Right.
So apparently the two happen simultaneously.
He really does. He's got her. She can't just leave him there, because he's going to wreak havoc on the galaxy.
Right.
And she can't kill him, because as soon as she does, he's going to go Exorcist style right into her.
Yes.
So,
but can he only transfer his presence into her once he's killed?
Yeah.
That's what I was like.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. For it to be done fully.
So she pulls a fast one on him and force transfers the saber over to Ben Solo, and then he wipes out the Knights of Ren and then joins her, and together they take on Palpatine. Palpatine dispatches Kylo Ren and sends him into the abyss.
Yeah, he says, like me.
Oh, yes.
You will fall.
Yes, now the tables have turned.
Yeah, so he throws him into the whatever the cavern.
It's so sweet when it's not me. I love this.
Wait. Chris is raising his hand.
Chris,
maybe we forgot something.
All right.
I'm not a very smart man in this world, but
right.
If we're gonna do the law of two, if Rey's gonna take all the Jedi behind her, doesn't mathematically that work out in her favor?
You're talking about the ratio of Jedi to Sith?
Because the rule of two.
All right, Rich Brendel.
But there's a whole stadium of these
When did
people.
Star Wars become Highlander?
I don't know Highlander. I don't know Highlander, so
canon?
I don't understand the connection between Highlander and Episode 9, so explain that.
Okay, so in Highlander, every time somebody...
Is this Sean Connery?
Yeah, every time somebody chops their head off, like the Immortals, when an Immortal chops the head off of another Immortal, then they absorb all the memories and all the powers of the previous Immortal. It's exactly what's going on with Star Wars now with the Jedi. All the Jedi are in Rey. All the Sith are in Palpatine.
Everyone lives with you now.
That's the end game, I guess. You absorb the past. So everything that, everything affects what happens after it is basically what they're saying.
Some of that is metaphor.
Yes,
it doesn't literally mean that every Jedi and every Sith, but some of it is just sort of hyperbole.
Here's okay. At the
Are we
point
here
then, well, I guess we're almost there. Palpatine then actually does extract the life essence out of Kylo and Rey, and they pass out.
No.
And
You're jumping ahead.
Am I?
You're jumping
when
ahead.
When does the Sith lightning happen? Does that happen before or after that?
Hold on.
I think after that. What am I missing?
He dispatches Kylo or Ben.
Yes,
down, right, and then he turns the Force lightning on Rey, which knocks her out. That's when she's looking up to the stars, saying, "Be with me." Right, be with me, or.
Oh, right. She starts tapping into, and then so that's when they all start. You start hearing all the voices.
All the voices.
Now I have a rundown of all the voices. You want to hear them?
I want to. I'd love to.
Okay.
Right.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yep.
Liam Neeson.
Heard that one.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
Mace Windu. Samuel L. Jackson. Anakin Skywalker. Hayden Christensen.
Heard that one.
Okay. Now we start getting into some animated.
Control
actors,
yourself, Chris.
Which I don't,
Chris
like
over here.
Ayla Secura. Okay? She never said a word in the prequels. Ahsoka, Kanan Jarrus, Freddie Prinze Jr., guy who hates Star Wars fans. Yoda, Frank Oz.
Thank you.
Luminara Unduli, who was kind of like one of the lamer Jedis from the Clone Wars. She was very much by the book Jedi who was just like, oh, well, our Padawans are dead. We're just going to leave them for dead. And they're like, no, we got to go save them.
No, that's
and Adi Gallia.
Adi Gallia.
I mean, so a lot of these voices to me are just kind of I don't know or care about any of these characters when it comes to the big picture. I'll say that right now. And the voice of Adi Gallia dispensing wisdom to Rey as she's about ready to strike down the evilest of evil in the galaxy means nothing to me or the story. Because Adi Gallia means nothing to me or the story. So who cares? Why even go to the why even bring in some of these? Okay, Ahsoka, fine. I love Ahsoka, but
Donny Osmond.
But the only voices she should have been hearing at that moment: Luke, Leia, Yoda,
Obi.
But all of them, the whole gang. So you're saying that it's all the Jedi ever were all dispensing wisdom and guidance, and so the less obscure illustrates the fact that this is all the Jedi that ever existed, pooling their power and essence into Rey so she can take on okay, fine. All right, that makes it much easier for me to be down with. Kanan Jarrus talking to Rey. I mean, get out of here with that. Who cares? And again, I have a hang up about that.
Cleveland Chris
mixing the thing. I mean, that to me is pandering.
Oh, you know what?
I think it's pandering.
I think we skipped. I think we skipped something that I wanted to run back.
So we made it to the death of Palpatine and everything. So let's start filling in some of the blanks here that we missed along the way.
There was a beautiful flashback scene of Leia and Luke in training. Leia being trained by Luke.
Yes, young Luke, young Leia.
Luke, brilliant when the visor comes up and it reveals young Luke looked dead on. The Leia one, I gotta say, looked just a little video gamey to me, but the Luke was just startlingly perfect.
But it was good
Tarkin
for the moment.
Perfect. It was really good for the moment,
and that reveals why Leia left her Jedi training.
Yep.
And why? What was that reason?
She had a Force vision.
She had a vision
that when she reached the end of her training, that her son would die. Right.
That her son would die at the end of her training? Yeah.
Something with her son. And I thought it was more metaphorical than it was literal, but it was that.
Well, okay, yeah, interesting. And she also was aware that someone in the future would take her saber, and fight the final fight.
She was so
she knew
was so
that was going to happen.
That would be the case.
All right, that's kind of convenient.
Yeah, in that moment, she stopped training, turned her lightsaber over to Luke, and said that she believed someday someone else would take up the sword.
So she had a premonition of Rey rising up to take her saber and fight the final battle, which is what happened.
And which could explain the familiarity that Leia has with Rey.
Because maybe she saw
realizes
Rey.
You're the one from my vision.
Oh, I've seen
you. Even if she didn't physically see her, she just knows. She has the sense that you're the one.
Yes. If you're going to talk it on mic, no one is hearing you over there. Sheldon.
Video production guy, by the way.
This is the video production guy. He's like, I can't even hear him.
Thinking out loud. You know how the Luke saber calls to her?
Yeah.
Is that maybe why too? There's just all of that working together.
Luke's saber calls to her.
Yes, and does that impact her recognition of Rey?
See, that would have made more sense if it was Leia's saber calling to her.
Yeah.
Not Luke.
We didn't even, well, in fairness to us, we didn't even know until this film that Leia had her own
twin sabers. Now, obviously, their design was very different, but could it be like the way the crystal is forged in the Force between two Force twins?
Her saber looked very much
offspring of the Chosen One.
Her saber looked very much like Obi-Wan's and Luke's own in Return of the Jedi. And she had what, Sheldon?
Oh, it had the rib on the handle, not unlike the Flash unit.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So Sheldon was basically talking about differences in the two sabers. Let's talk a big picture theme here. Okay, now at the end, we've seen Rey channel every Jedi that existed before her. We saw her accept Luke's and Anakin's saber as her own.
Mm-hmm.
She fought Palpatine and destroyed his influence on the Force and the dark side presence in the galaxy. Does all of this diminish the prophecy of the Chosen One? I know these words were never spoken in the sequel trilogy, but it's something that's been weighing on a lot of people. Yep. The prophecy of the Chosen One. Has it been unraveled?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think so?
No. So the only this is really for me the only way that the series could have gone to where I would have said, this young kid having to be the one to get rid of Palpatine once and for all, that undermines Vader / Anakin's sacrifice. But having the stakes raised higher for Rey in terms of her family connection, literal blood connection to Palpatine, it's the only way I buy it. And so I think that they did it very well.
It couldn't have been told to this story to your satisfaction if they maintained Rey was a nobody from nowhere.
Absolutely not.
Who just somehow segued into the story.
Right.
She had to have some sort of legitimate bloodline connection to the overall story. And having her as the daughter of Palpatine is something that I'm still trying to... Or granddaughter, yes, you're right. Is something that I'm still trying to process. Of course, it's been in the leaks and rumors, and I've been hearing about this for a long time. Of course, Cleveland Chris was one of the first to speculate about it, but it did start showing up in some good leaks toward the end of the summer, I guess, maybe even before that. And so that's been weighing on me as we come into it. But now actually seeing it in the movie, it's real now, and it's a real part of the story and a real part of the mythology, and it's not going to just sink in with me right away.
Right,
that revelation that Rey is a Palpatine, but it makes her inclusion in this story obviously make much more sense.
Yes.
She's suddenly a piece of the puzzle
Yes,
that we're trying to
thank you.
put together.
Not a nobody,
Yes.
not a junker. You know, Ryan Johnson liked to talk about how he would line up all of these open-ended questions and put these characters up on a board and say, okay, well, what's the worst possible thing that could happen to this character, or the worst possible? I think that JJ raised the ante, and I think that whereas Ryan Johnson stopped at the worst thing that could happen to Rey is for her to find out that she's a nobody. And I think JJ said, no, really the worst thing that could happen to Rey is her to find out she's related to somebody big like Palpatine.
Right. And that could be her actual inheritance, his claim to the dark rule
He's
of the
offering
galaxy.
that to her.
Yeah.
The Empress.
And it's a tempting offer for her, I think. I think she is legitimately tempted by it at first. But, the sudden arrival of Ben Solo.
Yep.
And another TIE fighter.
Right.
And a non-special TIE fighter.
Yep.
Which just shows how he is no longer Kylo Ren. Because he's just flying some regular dopey TIE fighter.
Yeah,
It's
dopey.
Nothing cool about it.
Yeah.
Nothing cool about it. He's just a regular
Le
guy
car.
now.
Le TIE fighter. Yeah, right.
But so that's a big picture thing. And I think that's something a lot of people are going to be talking about is the prophecy of the chosen one and how Rey's involvement at the end of the story and her being the one who destroys Palpatine. How does that unravel the prophecy of the chosen one? I maintain it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It really doesn't. Yes, Sheldon.
I did think that the reveal to Rey that Palpatine is heritage also is an echo of Empire Strikes Back, because we had no idea, like, Luke, his honorable father, the great Darth Vader, is his. So, very nice echo.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Rey is Luke.
This is the I am your
Rey
father
is
moment.
Luke. Yes, and she has her I am your grandfather moment. So, but yeah, Rey is Luke in this, and what this film achieved for me is it truly was the passing of the baton.
Yeah.
That we've been hearing these filmmakers talk about over and over and over again, and I never really felt it was being done. I never felt the authority of that actual notion that the baton or the lightsaber was being passed from one generation to the next. At times I felt like the younger generation was just snatching that baton away. But this time I really felt, especially the part with Leia and Rey, where Rey keeps referring to it as Luke's lightsaber and how she was even questioning whether she had the honor to be able to wield such a weapon, knowing who it belonged to and what it was all about. After getting to know Luke, she just didn't feel like she had the integrity to be able to hold. But it was Leia who, made it clear to her that it was okay. I think we needed that moment.
Right.
We needed that little moment. And it just felt like by the time we see Rey looking at the twin setting suns at the Lars homestead, I really felt like she had earned that position. And it's something you had brought up in our final show before we came into this movie. I know our last show was not exactly rah-rah. We weren't cheerleading. We weren't getting you pumped up for episode 9 at all. We had a lot of stuff to get off our chests. We needed to go through all of that. I think it helped cleanse us to a certain degree to where we could walk into this movie theater and watch it.
I agree. I needed that.
Open-minded.
I needed that.
Well, a lot of people were contacting me saying they were worried for you. They felt like you had just, for both of us, actually, we were both getting a lot off our chest. But I think that you were maybe driving the point home a little bit more. And that was just something we had to get off our chest. But I think people were bringing up some interesting things about how we might know too much about how the sausage is being made. And once you see the sausage being made, you don't necessarily want to eat it anymore, no matter how delicious it might look.
That's fair.
So I think that we were getting down in the weeds too much with behind-the-scenes stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
And so I cherish these moments now where we can really tear apart this new edition of the mythology. But to bring it all back around full circle, I want to ask you, do you think now these characters were worthy of being there to wrap up the Skywalker saga? No, I'm asking Jason. I'm not asking Chris Ammerham. Okay? You are at home listening on your earbuds right now, and no one could hear you but your cat.
All right. Were they worthy of being there?
Well, because you had made that statement. You did not think that these characters had earned the right to
conclude the saga.
Wrap up this saga.
Yeah.
How do you feel after seeing episode 9?
I feel better. Did they have the right to be there by themselves, or did they earn that spot? No. But was it appropriate given the fact that we had Han Solo in there, that we saw Leia and Luke at the end? Yes. I knew that if they didn't go that route, if they didn't sort of let Luke, Leia, Han sort of endorse this group all in the same film, that their ascendancy was not going to be complete, but it was complete.
Okay. So it finally, at the end of the day,
absolutely,
then the baton was then truly passed on.
The baton was passed, and I would be ready for 10, 11, 12, honestly, or a Disney Plus series or something. I am now ready to see more of Rey, Finn, and Poe after this film than I was after Last Jedi. Honestly, after Last Jedi, I didn't care whether I ever saw them again.
Okay, Sheldon, come on up to the mic.
So I felt by the end of the film she was bearing the 2 lightsabers, and I thought she was moving into the homestead to live a regular life, and that was the end of it. But why have her pull out a brand new lightsaber and then say goodbye to her? Like, this is the end of the saga. Here's a brand new lightsaber. What?
Well, I think it's showing her ascendancy and
she's her own person.
And her progression as a Jedi.
She's her own person.
She was able to forge and create her own lightsaber. So it shows her progression and her commitment to the Jedi Order in the fact that she has created her own lightsaber. So it screams prequel. Well, I mean, there could be a future. I mean, they just didn't, kill off all the characters. There's obviously a future for the characters. There's a tomorrow for the characters. The yellow lightsaber was
I agree. I think
set up as something to promote her, like actually seeing her in action with that saber is what the message you were getting, right? And that very well could be. Mm-hmm. Why slam the door shut on these characters?
That's been my point about the marketing and PR around this movie is why do you paint yourself in the corner?
Well, it's the saga. The saga is over, and Kathleen Kennedy said at the red carpet,
not just the Skywalkers.
But that's true. And so I think you're going to start seeing standalone films. I think you're going to start seeing things, like the streaming series be more of a priority as we move forward. And then standalone films are not going to box themselves in with these with these trilogies. These trilogies are, that was a thing of Star Wars past, apparently. I mean, that's the method of telling stories in the trilogy format.
Let's let Rich jump in here because we got to wrap this
Rich
up.
Brendel.
Just a real quick point here. Sheldon had a really good point, even though I think he misspoke it, where he said that just screams prequels, where I think he meant sequels. Correct. But that ending does scream prequels, because the prequels ended with Tatooine, and that's exactly where we ended with this sequel trilogy too.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, that's
it's home base.
That's the Mecca, apparently. I mean, that's the Fertile Crescent of Star Wars is at Lars family homestead. And so, how do we feel about Rey now taking on the surname of Skywalker? How do we feel about that, Sheldon?
Well, I mean, she is not a Skywalker, so I guess it is the end of the Skywalker saga. Even if she is to take on the name, she's not actually a blood Skywalker.
Well, some people might think that Palpatine actually created Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly.
So if, from a certain point of view, she is related to the Skywalkers. I personally don't think Palpatine created Anakin Skywalker. I think Palpatine was attempting to create life, and the Force had a counter reaction to his manipulation of the midichlorians. The midichlorians reacted and created the Chosen One, the thing that would essentially take him down until technology essentially kept him alive. He lucked out. If he didn't have that technology keeping him alive, then, for all, intents and purposes, Palpatine was dead. He was zombie Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
I think it was what was keeping him alive to the point where he could communicate through the vessel that was his former body is some dark side energy, I guess. Get on, Mike.
They even called it dark science.
Dark science.
Yeah, the Hobbit said that it was dark science, Sith mysticism, or Sith science. Yeah. Sorry, Dominic Monaghan.
Yeah. Dark science.
Yeah.
They catch
Sith
them.
Science.
They're plugging
Sith science.
They're plugging Sith machinery into a Barbie doll and dark science.
Yeah. Bill Nye, the Sith science guy. He goes on to explain it all for you. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm about ready to fall asleep. So,
are you kidding me? I want to go see the movie again. I'm jacked up. I am jacked up.